On the right. On the right.
Everything is a story. What I get from you. Am I correct?
Well, not necessarily, because when I look at it from a point of view of the child, constantly looking at it, from a child's point of view, I'd like to say that, every child has a very innate curiosity. They have a natural desire to learn, to know about things. So in 1977, when I started with children in the Nilgiris in rural Tamil Nadu, and I was working with children from tribal communities, different tribal communities over there, I discovered something very, very fascinating, Piyush. I found that children don't, people would tell me in 1977, बच्चों के लिए इच्छा नहीं है, बच्चों के लिए, रुचि नहीं है. No, it was not children not, or not being interested or resisting, learning. What was happening was the way in which we speak to them. Do we speak to their hearts? So when I'm looking at parents today, this is something that I have been noticing from 1988 when I started Katha. So I find that, when we are working with a group of children and I'm saying, okay, what made them fall in love with reading? Was it the books? Was it the joy of discovery? Was it the magic of the stories coming alive? Then I would say it is a magic of the stories coming alive. How does it link up with my life? Why do I think a story is important? Okay. And children have their own ways of linking up, a story that they are reading or they are hearing with something else. So when I talk to children, or when I talk to the parents, I say, when was the last time you enjoyed a story with your child? Now you must notice that I'm saying the word enjoyed. I'm not saying when did you read to the child, because they think that, if you have a book and you read to the child, because everyone now is at least thinking of, bedtime reading, so they are reading to their child. But did you enjoy the story with the child? What is it that makes the difference? Okay. So when I say enjoy, what comes to your mind when I say enjoy, Piyush?
So
What comes
is
to
it
your
a
mind?
voice modulation and visualization which we bring to the story when we read
It is
them to
that.
our kids?
Yes, but it is creating a shared experience with the child. Supposing I am telling a story and the child has an experience. See, we are always taking the child from me, I plus one step. This is how the child's knowledge grows. So the I is the child, and from the I, the child grows and moves into a new experience, a new knowledge, a new learning. Okay, that's what a story does. So when I'm reading with a child, I am trying to create a shared experience. Now that comes from, Vakabhinaya, it comes from Mukhabhinaya, it comes from Angabhinaya. Now I'm using my hands so much when I'm talking to you. That's because, I'm wanting to express myself, and I find that, when I use my hands, when I use my face, when I use my voice, when I drop it, when I have, a climax and I say, oh my God, what is happening? Then the child, even if they are falling asleep, they wake up and they're listening to you. And their minds are constantly working. Okay, they are constantly. So stories become powerful when they are not just read, but they are lived. The parent has to live that story. So I would say take a book, but read the book once before you read it with your child. Ask your child what you think would happen next. फिर इसके बाद क्या हो सकता है? You make the child think. Now, that is what gets the child into reading. It's not just saying that I have read a book with my child, which many of us do, and that's very, very important. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it does make sense to me.
So the children must say, I don't like what this person is doing. I don't agree with this person. This person should not have done this. This person should have done this. This person should not have opened the door. Knows that there is somebody at the back of it. There's a monster at the back of it. Whatever it may be. But the thing is, making the child think, helping the child to ask questions, helping the child to develop a narrative imagination. Can I be in the shoes of the other? Because stories, develop empathy in children, and that is very important. So when they reimagine the ending and they say, "Aisa nahi hona chahiye, aisa hona chahiye," when they change the thing and they are coming up, that shows not just that they are creative. Yes, they are. They are curious, they are creative, but there's also a critical thinking. बदलाव कैसा आ सकता है? And that one becomes हमारा जीवन में कैसा बदलाव आ सकता है? So, when I'm looking at the process that happens when I'm reading a story with children, and this is what we do in Katha. We help the child to go beyond the story, to go behind the story, and to understand what the story is trying to say. So it has to have, a way of, understanding the concept, understanding why, and then understanding what happens because this thing happened.
So does it mean that making predictions and interacting with the predictions become a very important element of
Yes,
storytelling?
absolutely. I think you've said it in a very, very nice way. I think it is helping the child to make predictions, connecting that with the life that they see around them, connecting it with the life that they are living in the home, in the school, on the way to school. So it is, linking all these little bits of information which is there in the child's mind into a more holistic picture so the child can stand very firmly on that knowledge and make a quantum leap into another knowledge.
So just briefing it out, what I get from you and from my audience also, I'm briefing it out, that what important is, as a parent, I'm able to create a shared reading experience for my kid. And when that shared reading experience is going on, I'm allowing my kid to make predictions, and I myself is also making predictions. And let the kids interact with the prediction and see like what's going to happen next, why this happened, why it's not had happened, how it can be done differently. So it will help them to build imagination, problem solving, critical thinking, and empathy. Also, I'm also as a parent giving my opinions, so they're interacting with me. So it's also helping them to develop a social emotional development. At the same time, this whole process is so communicative with parent and a kid. It helps them in developing the language skills, and overall, this shared learning experience become very fruitful and productive for a parent and a kid also.
Piyush, the operative word here is enjoy. Okay, you must always remember that I have to enjoy the child's knowledge and reading with the child. It's not reading to; it's about reading with. It is creating this joy in the mind of the child because I have found I started Katha in 1988 to enhance the joy of reading. Okay, because I find that when you're reading without that joy, when you're reading तो पढ़ना है, एग्ज़ाम के लिए पढ़ना है, इसके लिए पढ़ना है, क्लास के अंदर मुझे जाना है, कल जाना है, एंड सो आई हैव टू रीड फॉर दैट। दैट बिकम्स अ प्रेशर ऑन द चाइल्ड एंड द चाइल्ड इज़ सेइंग इसके लिए मुझे ये वाला चीज़ मुझे करना है। So there is a process that is always I can't use the word matlabi, but it almost comes close to that. It is not done for pure joy. And children like that joy. When they are playing, they are just happy. They are doing what they want. But when they are reading, they are doing it because, school के अंदर जाना है, school में marks लेना है. So I'm going to do it. So if you can shift the needle from there, that's why the joy word becomes very important. And I found over the last 36 years in Katha, and if I look at it from 1977, nearly 40 years, I have found that, no child is different, Piyush. Whether a child is coming from difficult, marginalized communities, or the child is coming from a more privileged background, I find that, the way in which you can capture the attention of the child, the way in which a child can become a true leader, because finally that's what you want. Whichever reading the child is doing now, the child needs to be empathetic. The child needs to be able to have this, what all of us call a narrative imagination. So the child should be able to put herself in the shoes of another and be able to see. That's what the story helps us to do. Okay. So these things. So then what happens is every moment becomes a learning experience because the story is a learning experience. Okay. So when a parent is going to the shop, for instance, and I'm going to go and buy curry pata over there, I'm telling the child, okay, so there's a story involved in my journey when I'm working. हम जा रहे हैं, क्या कर रहे हैं, क्या चीज हम देख रहे हैं. So all these are built into the story that is building in the child's mind. But I'm connecting the dots with the story that I'm saying. So, to go back to the first point that you mentioned, a story doesn't come in a storybook. The story comes to me when I am talking to my child. And the child has a story. We have to listen to the story of the child. Most of us don't have the time for that. The child's mind is constantly fabricating and making stories. Eh, and we need to say that yes, I know I'm very busy. I have, this very important thing to finish before I go into office tomorrow. Yes, that's there. But वो 5-10 minute के लिए, if I can say, okay, now this is a learning moment. My child is going to sleep. What are the kind of dreams the child is going to have? Not raat mein, but for their life. What is that dream? How can I create that life? It's not a career pathway. It's a dream. It's a thing of possibilities. What is it that is possible in this world, and that is what story makes possible.
Correct. So what I understood from you right now, and I want to share with my audience too, that reading stories is not just about making predictions, as I've said earlier. It also involves that connecting the text of the story to our lives, to the lives of the kids, and to the outer world. So it helps kids not just to understand the story better, but also to understand their universe and the world
Yes.
around them.
So when we are talking to parents, there are these two things that we are constantly keeping in mind. As parents, as people who've been in education, who've seen how children learn across the spectrum, many, many spectrums, we have to remember that we are nurturing thinkers and global leaders. We are not nurturing them to get into a job. We are preparing them for work, and I make a difference between a job and work. Now, Piyush, what you're doing is work. It has meaning in it. It has a purpose in it. It has a vision in it. Okay. Job is something that I do for money. I go there, I spend 9 to 5 over there. My whole life is outside of what I'm doing, 9 to 5. Okay. So we need to, in the 21st century, we need to prepare our children for this kind of, a discovery. Every day is a discovery. Every day is a learning. Every day is an opportunity for me to show respect, whether it is to my uh, classmate, whether it is to nature, whether it's to a tree that I'm walking by every day, I'm showing respect. Okay. So when there is a joy and it's mixed with respect and with, a way in which I can be a अच्छा इंसान बनने के लिए क्या तरीका है, when I look at that, I think the story becomes a very, very natural way of, helping the child to be a contributing member of society, a responsive and responsible citizen. And that, I think, is the hope, which is a larger hope that we should have for India. India cannot be a land where, all of us are doing jobs. India should be a land where young people are being prepared to work, to use their minds, to beat AI at its game. Okay. And we always, otherwise, the human race will just, I don't know, maybe it's not important for this discussion, so I won't go into it at all.
Yes, I understand you. Yes, that we can do later for sure. And but yes, a very powerful, a visionary thought I see when we talk about India, Bill, and what would be important for India. I was just completely having the goosebumps with the simplicity of the thought and the power of that thought. But now a very important question comes to my mind, and that is like how parents